Okay, it looks like we have quite a few people here, and most of them that have registered have already signed in, so I think we're pretty safe to start. Uh, Before I get going, I just want to get a couple of house cleaning things taken care of. This webinar will be recorded. It'll be sent out after the webinar is done. Please, if you have any questions or anything like that during the webinar, use the question portion of the software to ask any questions, and I can answer them either while I'm going through things or at the end. There will be a Q&A. The main portion of this webinar will be a live demo of what we're talking about here. And what we're talking about here is, how to stay on top of your backups. My name is Nathan Forage. I'm the VP of Strategic Solutions here at Novastore. That's all my contact information. If you really want to hunt me down, that's all truly my information, so you can get in contact with me if you want. Quick overview of the agenda. I'm going to do an overview of what we're going to talk about, and then the features of the Nova Backup Central Monitoring, which is the main portion of this webinar, along with a live demo, which will be the majority of this webinar. Please, when I'm going through that demo, ask any questions that you have. If you want me to show you something specific, please let me know. I'll go through a couple of use cases, and then at the end, I'll answer any questions and have any answers that you guys want. So, why Nova Backup CMON? First of all, what is CMON? That's our shortened version of central monitoring. It's a product, a program that you can do central monitoring of all your Nova Backup installations, whether it's locally at your location, say it's just a small business that you want to deal with, or just even a family that has 5 PCs that they want to you want to monitor the backups. That's what this central monitoring is all about. And a couple of things about the central monitoring in CMON. We have remote monitoring, so you can monitor this pretty much anywhere that you can get to the web server that you put the software on. So this is a web-based product that you can install on workstation, server, what have you. It's very easy to set up. There is some YouTube videos on how to set it up. I'm not going to go through the full setup during the live demo, but I'm going to show you how to use the product. And it's very scalable. You can use it for 1, 2, 100 machines, whatever you want to do for the number of Nova backups that you have connected and monitoring with this. It's very scalable, and it's lightweight, and it's really easy to use also. And the best part is it's completely free. It's completely free. It only monitors the Nova Backup software, so it's not going to be useful if you don't have Nova Backup, but it is free and completely usable with our software. A couple of top features. So it's a very intuitive web-based interface. So you can manage groups and agents and number of Nova Backups installations that you have out there. I'll show you how that kind of works in the next live demo portion, along with accessing all the history and statuses of any backups that are happening. The other thing that really is, let me put it this way, it helps quite a bit to make sure that your backups are going well if you're not monitoring it live, is the email notifications and real-time alerts. So if there's a backup that failed or something else, or if you want to just know when a backup is complete, you can actually set up triggers within the software to email you out and alert you that, hey, X backup happened and here was the status of it, that type of thing. And if you're in a larger environment that you might have either multiple locations, multiple departments, or if you're a partner that has lots of different installations of Nova Backup out there, you can actually set up different users and roles for what people that sign into the central monitoring can actually see. And I'll go through that in the live demo portion of it. It's really easy and pretty slick, especially when you're talking about a multi-tier, multi-tenant type of situation where you might have multiple different customers or departments in your central monitoring that you want to give access to certain people. Speaking of live demo, let's go ahead with the live demo itself. So what you should be able to see right now is the Nova Backup Central Monitoring dashboard. I just have this loaded up in this case it's Edge, but it works with Chrome and Firefox and even IE if you're still using Internet Explorer for some reason. And this dashboard kind of gives you a high-level overview of what is happening in your Nova Backup installations that are connected to the central monitoring. So in this case, I have a bunch of different Nova Backup installations here connected to it, and I can do sorting based on last backup date, last backup status, and say if I want to look for one specific user in here or computer that is backing up, I can do that, and I can filter based on all of that. So it's really, really easy to kind of find what you're doing and what's happening. And I can say Bob's computer right here. I can go view into here, and I can actually see, okay, here's the actual computer name of the machine, IP address, and the version of the software, license, and all that stuff, along with how much free disk space is on that machine, and any backup job history. So if I can actually look at that backup job and see that log right here without having to get to that machine or anything like that. And I can go again back into that job history and say, oh, why did this fail? And I can see, okay, hey, it couldn't find the device. That's why it failed. So it's pretty powerful in that regard to be able to see what's happening out there and monitor, either a small or large amount of Nova Backup installations to see how the backups are actually happening. And you kind of get a live view down here in the job history. It's just basically sorted by when the last backup was started on this. So this is just a full gambit of all the backups that have happened in here. And again, everything's sortable and searchable if you want to in here. And then when I was talking about the multi-tier, multi-tenant in the hierarchy, if I go to agents and groups, in here I have things kind of sorted. So I have sorted into this pending group where this is where new installations come into that haven't been configured or anything like that. And then I have a server group that I set up and have some servers in there. And then in workstations, I have the workstation, I'll call it an organization unit or folder. And then I can have them folders underneath that. So I have admin, engineers, IT, sales, that type of thing. So I can have multiple different levels here. And at each level, I can actually create a user and have specific rights for that particular user. But what I also wanted to show you is how easy it is to kind of say these particular machines, I just install them, they're new servers, what have you. I select both of those, and I can just drop them right into the server group, and now they're grouped into that server. And then I say, this particular computer name doesn't really tell me what this is, so I want to go in here, and I can actually change the name of the machine, the agent that is checking into the software, so it's a little bit more descriptive. So maybe I'll call this test server 1 or something like that. I can save that, and now it's going to be called test server 1 in here. And I can add different notes. So say if there are specific things about this particular backup that might be either problematic or specifically something I want to note, it's something that you can put notes in there to remind yourself, remind other technicians, that type of thing that you want to deal with. Here's a good question. With the job history, does it only monitor backups? So the job history will monitor backups, image backups, copy jobs, all of that stuff. So any job that is happening there, it'll actually monitor in here. Another thing that it will do, I'll see if I have any currently running. Okay, I have all these machines running like every 15 minutes or so. So it happens that there's a couple of them running right now. I can actually go into the job history, and I can actually see this is a live status of that particular backup job that's happening right now. So it has, basically 1 gig selected, 755 files, and it's, going through and where it's backing up to and all that stuff. So you can actually see how that backup is happening right now. Okay. Going back into the trigger portion of it, so in here I have a trigger set up, and in this trigger I actually have it so any failed backups for computer, basically backup agents Bob or Susie will actually send me an email, and you can change the subject and all this other stuff. This is all by default right here what you're going to see, but you can change this to whatever you want it to be, but by default it'll give you the agent name, the job name, type, and status, and all that stuff in here. And you can create as many different triggers as you want based on whatever statuses you want. If I want to do it on every status, I could do that and update that, and every time a backup for Bob or Susie happens, I will get notified of that. Another thing I wanted to go through is different roles. So you can actually, see there's some predefined roles that are here already. So the administrator role and like backup auditor, operator, so or even backup support. So this guy can only view the dashboard, view agents and groups, and some of the other things, but it can't actually edit anything but the jobs. And then you can see the users in that group. But you can also add new roles if you want to, and customize that as deeply as you really need to. But generally, you don't really have to. And I wanted to show you how the actual users, if you wanted to create a new user. So say I create a new user called, we'll call it engineer. I'll just give that administrator role access, but I'm going to only allow it to see the engineers folder that I have set up. So now I have an engineer user there. I can log out. If I log in with that user, the only thing they can see, assuming I did that right, actually I didn't do that right, I'm sorry. Administrator will actually have access to all the users. So let me change that real quick. Let's say it was backup auditor. So now this user can only see the agents that are in that particular group. If I go to agents and groups, I don't have access to that, but I have access to see the dashboard and see what is in here. But I can't see everything else in here. It's just what I have access to. And you can edit those rules and roles however you need to. There's been a couple questions. I want to go through these real quick while I'm on this page. One of the questions was, okay. So how would an MSP or partner utilize this to manage multiple clients? So what you can do, and how I've shown other MSPs and partners how to use this software, is create groups, as in like, so you have Acme Corp, and Beta Corp. And all of that. You can do, then you can put whatever machines that are associated with that particular customer into that, so you can monitor it that way and do reports on that. So that would be the best way, basically group those particular Nova Backup installations by folder, basically by company. And then within that company, you can even group it, deeper down if you really wanted to. And as an MSP or partner, if say the business owner wants to log in and see their backups and stuff like that, you can create a user for their particular folder and then allow them access to view the backup jobs and view reports if you want to. This is another great question. How do you actually add Nova Backup to monitor it within the Central Monitoring console? So I have Nova Backup set up right here. Make sure, yep, you should be able to see that. And then what you want to do once you have Nova Backup installed is click the little N icon in the upper left-hand corner, go into Default Settings, then CMON Server, and basically put in the server name or IP address that your CMON installation is set up into. In this case, I have it locally on this machine. And this machine is a Buffalo Windows storage server machine. So I actually have this Buffalo TerraStation set up for actually the backup target along with the CMON server for this particular test installation. And it's called Buffalo-WSS 2016. And you can give it a fully qualified domain name or not. The default port is 4502. And you can actually specify the specific group you wanted to go into if you wanted to. In this case, I'm not going to, and I'll just have this start. So that's all started, and now if I go back into my CMON agents and groups, there's going to be a new pending one right here that I just installed. There's no backups on this particular one since I haven't done any backups. I just a fresh install, but yeah, it's as simple as that. And then I can move that to wherever I want to. All right. Another good question while I'm here, what is the minimum version of NovaStore that the central monitoring requires? So it can go back quite a ways. It can go back into like version 17, but honestly, we've done a lot of fixes and other things and enhancements on the agent service that is actually installed with Nova Backup. I'd recommend version 19 or higher, but 18 is good. You can go back as far as 17 if you really need to. All right. So we're getting a lot more questions, and I think I'll go just basically straight into the question portion of this while I have the software up to show anything that you might want. Good question. So if the backups are encrypted, can the encryption keys be centrally stored on the CMON server to ensure they aren't lost or damaged or changed? That's a great feature request. That's the first time I've actually heard that one. We can't do that right now, but that could be something that we look into in the future. Yeah. Another question, can you restart the services from the CMON on the client workstations? Not currently. That is something that we are going to add in the near future, probably within the next, I'll say within this year of this particular product. It's something this is a product that we're constantly evolving and adding new features and functions to it. In fact, I haven't went over some of the cloud particular portions of the software. I'm going to go through that next week with when we're doing another webinar specifically about cloud and the NovaStore XSP cloud software. So I'll go over that in that webinar, and feel free to join that also. Do you need to actually install the CMON server on a Windows server. No, actually, you can install it on a Windows workstation also. It can be installed on a workstation, so you don't need to have it on a server. You have a mixture of Nova Store and Acronis. Can I use CMON for both? Unfortunately, no. Only Nova Backup can be monitored with CMON. So, unfortunately, if you want full central monitoring, you might have to get rid of that Acronis and go all Nova Backup. Yeah, so can CMON be installed on Windows machines or other OSs? It is Windows only currently. So yeah, you have to install CMON on a Windows machine, but it can be a workstation or a server. Licensing models for CMON. We have a really simple licensing model for CMON. It's free. um, yeah, so it's completely free, downloadable on our website. There is actually some YouTube videos on installation and configuration that we just recently did. So if you just go out to youtube.com/Novastore, there's actually installation and configuration videos that a couple of my techs have done, and they're really good. Yeah. Cloud storage for CMON. Okay. The question is, do I need to use cloud storage for CMON, or can I use local storage? All of those backups that I've been doing right here are all local backups. So all of this entire setup that I have demoing right here, it's a bunch of workstations and a couple servers, all backing up to a Buffalo NAS. So you don't there's no cloud set up in here that is needed. It can monitor all local backups, DR backups, all of that. Firewall configuration. So what port has to be open on the firewall to monitor remote laptop backups? So this is one of the cool things about how we created this. Say you have a bunch of roaming laptops from like sales people or what have you out in the field, and they have Nova Backup installed on them, and maybe they're backing up to local USB drive or what have you. You can monitor all of those because without having to do a bunch of end user firewall port messing around or anything like that, because the actual backup client is going to reach out to your defined CMON server. It's over port 4502, but since it's being initiated from the client machine itself to the CMON server, it is most firewalls don't block that, so you're not going to have to deal with any like NAT translation or anything like that. It's a connection that is open from the client to the server, so it doesn't have to go back and forth that way. On the CMON server side of things, you do need port 4502 open to the CMON server so that all those agents can check in and that type of thing. And then depending on how you want to monitor actually log into the CMON server, you'll need port 80 or port 443 enabled so you can actually browse into it. Support for Office 365. We currently do not have support for Office 365. That is something that is very near and dear to my heart, and we're getting that's something that's pretty high priority for us to look into in the next couple months. With that, I'm going to go back into the presentation. Couple use cases. I think we've covered most of the use cases through all of the questions that I just answered, but it's very easy to, as you can see, for an end user to, might have a couple machines at home or something like that. They can install this and use that to monitor their local backups, that type of thing, along with service providers that I talked about, MSPs and partners, how you can monitor it for multiple different customers. That's also a good use case that we see used for the Central Monitoring Console also. A couple other questions that are coming in. Can you change the port for that if you'd like for the CMON server to use? Yes, yeah, it's completely configurable. During the installation of the CMON server and the client, the Nova Backup client, you can change that port if you really want to. Just make sure that you change it both on the server and on the client so everything matches. It is going to default to 4502. All right. Question about, okay, so can the local backup client for a roaming laptop back up to a cloud location? So that's a good question, and the question is, the answer is yes. Yes. It depends on whether or not you want it to go to a cloud that you're hosting or something else. If you want more information about like how the cloud stuff might work with the software, I am doing another webinar next week specifically about that. But also, if you want to send in a quick email, we can talk and go into that a little bit more in depth. All right. Unless there's any other questions, I appreciate everyone's time here, and hopefully it's been informative. And it's been good to have all the questions that you guys have had. Again, software is free for the Nova Backup CMON. There is great YouTube videos that we've done on how to set it up and how to configure it. Go ahead and go view those out. Go view those if you want to see how to configure it. And if you have any questions, you know my information. Reach out, or else just submit a support ticket, and we can answer any questions for you. I want to thank you for everyone's time, and with that, I think I have all the answers, all the questions answered.